You're tuned into another episode of the AER Podcast. Streaming on Apple, Google Play, Spotify, iHeart, and YouTube, this podcast features interviews of individuals in the coatings industry. Listen every month wherever you get your podcast. Stay in the loop by following us on Instagram and Facebook at AER Equipment SA. Subscribe, rate, and visit us online at air-equipment.com. Now, enjoy another episode of the AER Podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the AER Podcast. My name is Jason Weber and I'm your host. This episode's podcast, we've got Matt Kelly, who's in inside sales and the manager of the Carbit line for Carbit coatings. Hey Matt, how's it going?
Good, Jason. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you jumping on and talking to us a little bit about Carbit and some of your booth coatings that you guys offer.
For sure.
So first off, I want to just kind of jump right into it and just a question we get a lot as a distributor. Why should customers or end users, manufacturers, why should you be coating the floors and walls and lights of your booth?
Yeah, good question. So a couple different reasons. Number one, OSHA regulations. So I believe it's 29 CFR 1910, which has to do with residue removal and has to do with spontaneous combustion in the booth. So basically it says you want to get, all the overspray out of your booth as soon as you can. So that would be number one reason right there would be safety. Inhalation hazards. So it creates dust in the booth. So your painters are going to be safer in the booth while they're painting. But I mean, the obvious one is to protect your investment, right? I mean, we're looking at, $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 booths, and you want to protect your investment. So strippable coatings basically would go right over the top of the booth of the steel, and the overspray won't hit the booth. So if you don't coat your booth and the overspray is on your booth, you're going to be sitting there scraping it off. You're going to compromise the steel. And it's just going to create a mess for you inside the booth. And on top of that, it basically turns your booth bright white for your painters. So if you coat your booth, the light's going to reflect off of the white booth coating, and you're going to have a ton less rejects come through the booth. So painters are going to have a lot easier job painting what they're supposed to do.
Okay, so it's on top of protecting the booth, it's a visibility. There's a visibility aspect to it.
Absolutely, for sure.
Okay, so you do so coating your booth. What does that consist of? There's different coatings, I think, for the floor and the wall, or are they one consistent coating?
Yeah, so we have three different systems for coating the booth. We have coating for walls, which is bright white. We have a clear for the lights, and then we have a bright white for the floor as well. So basically, if you want to coat your entire booth, what you're going to do is you're going to lightly sweep. So if it's an old booth and there's overspray on it, any kind of loose overspray, you're going to want to sweep down any loose overspray. You're going to want to sweep up the floors just to get any loose dirt up. And number one, if it's a new booth, you're not going to need to prep the walls. If it's an old booth, so what we've seen sometimes, we're walking into a plant and there'll be a spray booth that hasn't been taken care of in years, some 5-10 years, and it's almost looks like a scene out of a horror movie. And so basically what you're going to need is you don't have to take the overspray off of the walls before you coat it. But the white top coat does want to soak into any surface that it can. So if you sprayed the white booth coat over the overspray, you're basically going to be sitting there when it's time to peel. You're going to be sitting there trying to peel it inch by inch. So you're going to need a prep coat to go on the walls to cover the overspray. So you take the prep coat over the walls, and what that's going to do is it's going to create almost a glass barrier between the overspray and the white top coat. So first thing to do would be to prep the walls on an old booth. After the walls are prepped and dry, we have several different products that go on the walls, 4 in particular. So one's going to be a solvent-based coating. That's going to be called our 946. And the other 3 are all water-based. And I kind of like to talk about it like we have the Cadillac option, the Chevy option, and then the Ford Fiesta option. So Ford Fiesta option, it's going to get you from A to B. It's going to be more of our economical version and not going to be great for old boots with overspray on it. The Chevy option is going to be our workhorse. So that's called our 942. And our Cadillac options are 948. So 4 different coatings that you can pick from that go on the walls. And the nice thing about the Cadillac option, the 948, is what we've seen is once it hits the walls, it soaks into the overspray. Well, so the prep coat soaks into the overspray, and then the 948, it's going to grab the prep coat. So when you go to peel, we've seen that some of the overspray actually comes up with the peel, which is kind of nice. It's almost cleaning your booth when it's time to peel. But so wall coating, so it's going to be prep coat, then it's going to be white top coat. And as far as the lights go, when it's time to apply, you're going to put the white top coat right over the lights and let that dry. As soon as it's dry, take a razor blade, cut out the lights, and then peel off the lights. And we have our 945, which is a water-based clear, and that's going to go on top of the lights. And the heat generated from the lamps of the lights actually going to shrink the coating. So the whole key to make sure you're getting a good peel, both on the walls, on the lights, and on the floors, is going to be making sure it goes on thick enough. And so once you hit the walls, then you hit the lights, and it's time for the floors. Again, floors, make sure you get all the loose dirt off of the floors first, and then same system as the prep coat for the walls and then the white top coat. You're going to want to prep the floors. With concrete being a porous surface, again, the white top coat's going to want to soak into the concrete. So if you don't prep the floors, you're going to be sitting there picking inch by inch, and you're lucky if you get 50% of the white top coat when it's time to peel.
Okay.
So prep coat goes on the floors, seals it off. White top coat goes over the top, and then you have your sealed booth.
Okay. Now, I question on top of that, when it's time, when you go to peel at a later date and reapply, do you need to reapply that prep coat as well?
Yeah, great question. So kind of depends, and it all depends on the user. So we have some accounts that they'll spray their booth and they'll do something what we call sandwiching. So what sandwiching is, basically you'd spray your booth, so you'd hit the walls, hit the lights, hit the floors, and then let's say a week or two goes by, or depending on the usage in your booth, let's say, a month or two goes by, and you start to see the overspray built up on the walls. The nice thing about the booth coat is that you really can't go on too thick. The thicker it is, the easier it's going to be to peel. So what we recommend most accounts do, every now and then, again, depending on the usage, is just put a light coat right over the top. So you're going to make it bright white again. You're going to sandwich in that overspray into itself. And once you sandwich 2 or 3 times, it's going to be time to peel. And so, like I said, all depends on the account, how often you're going to be spraying, how white you want the booth, how important that is to you. So we have some people that sandwich every week and then they peel every month. And then others that they'll sandwich every 2 months, peel every 6 months. We do have one person that they applied about 2 years ago and have yet to do anything to it. And that's not recommended, because what we see is, as time goes on, the coating's going to shrink. And so it's going to be even tougher to peel. So that would be a situation where that would not be recommended. That's when you're going to have a hard time peeling, is if you're not, maintaining your booth and your booth coatings, properly.
Okay. Yeah, that's useful information, because if that's not relayed to the end user, that can kind of come back on us or Carbit, we've seen that happen.
No, for sure.
And if you guys
definitely
are looking on how to recoat an existing booth, Carbit has a really good how-to video on their YouTube channel, which is, I believe, Carbit Paint Chicago. I think that's your YouTube channel. So
yep, on our website as well, and it'll take you to we got the 4 videos up on our website, carbit.com, as well.
Okay. So speaking of coating the floor, what's the advantage of using a booth coat on your floor as opposed to booth paper, which people opt to go with often?
Yeah, for sure. So basically, a couple different reasons. Number one is the floor prep. So tape for floor paper, you need to have your floor vacuumed, mopped. I mean, that floor needs to be almost pristine in order for the paper to sit down on the floor. So with the booth coat, basically all you need to do is just a light sweep of all of the loose debris, and then you're ready to spray the booth coat. So floor prep's going to be a little bit easier. It's also seamless, right? So paper tears super easy, especially if you're putting, forklifts in there, turning the forklift tires, it's going to tear the paper. Even automobiles, you're bringing a car in there, as soon as you turn the tires, could tear the papers up. And so basically, having the seamless floor, if there is a tear in the booth coat, super easy to take care of. Basically, you just take a razor blade, cut out the tear, take some of the liquid, put it right over the top. As soon as it's dry, it's like it never happened.
Okay.
There's less waste as well. So in the amount of paper to fill like a 55-gallon drum, it's going to be about 2 basketballs worth of floor coating when you ball it up. So there's going to be a lot less waste. Also, the sandwich method we talked about, you can't really sandwich the paper. You're not just going to put layers and layers and layers of paper on. So the sandwiching method kind of gives you a new booth pretty much whenever you want it. And then it's also super easy to use. So, my background, I taught special ed for 8 years and coached basketball, started in the paint world 2 years ago. And basically, if I can figure it out, anybody can figure it out. So it's, like I said, super easy to use. Just load it up into the pump, spray it out, and then peel whenever you're ready. So yeah, can't really speak for any benefits of the floor paper. We don't sell floor paper, so can't really speak on that, but I do know that, with our booth coating, it is super, super easy to use.
Yeah, I would assume it would save you some downtime too, because you're probably having to replace that booth paper, I would assume, more often than the coating.
Yeah, for sure. And the coating is, so if you're dealing with an oven booth, so a bake booth, if you don't replace your floor coating often, sometimes the floor coating can get brittle. So that would be one of the downsides if you're not maintaining your booth floor properly. That would be maybe the only downside of using booth coating instead of paper, is that the floor coating tends to get brittle if you let it sit for, 12 months plus. But other than that, you're going to be looking at a lot less time, a lot less downtime, and a lot less time, putting the booth coat on than you would the paper.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you kind of touched on this, but you mentioned that you have 1 solvent-based coating and then 3
Mm-hmm.
water-based. What
Right.
are the benefits or differences of a solvent-based coating versus a water-based coating?
So pretty much one benefit, one difference, and that's going to be dry time. So the solvent-based coatings, 20 minutes, you're going to be that's going to be dry. You're going to be able to get back in there. Out of the 4 coatings that you talked about, those are for the walls. Our floors are solvent-based.
Okay.
And the thought behind that is basically, you need to be stepping on the floors. You're not necessarily going to be, doing anything to the walls. You're not going to be putting your hands on the walls. The walls can still be tacky, and you can still get in there and start spraying your whatever it is that you're spraying. But the floors are solvent-based, so about 20 minutes, floors are going to be dried, ready to step on. As far as the wall coatings go, like I said, our 1 solvent-based, it's going to be, get in, get out. It's going to be dried. It's going to be ready to go. The water-based, however, non-flammable, so it's going to be easier to ship. It's going to be easier to store. The better environmental option for sure. Low odor. So usually especially when you're spraying the floors, it's going to stink for, a significant amount of time while the solvents are leaving the coating. So with water-based, no odors, easy cleanup, easy disposal. I know when you're disposing solvent-based coatings, every territory kind of has their own rules. Solvent-based obviously going to be a little bit more restricted than water-based. and then shipping. So shipping costs. It's a lot less money to ship water-based than it is solvent-based. So really, the only benefit of the solvent-based is going to be the dry time.
Okay. So it doesn't have anything to do with like the performance of it or anything, just the dry time.
No, not the performance. Well, like I said, the Cadillac option, that 948, that's going to outperform any other strippable coatings that we have, and that is water-based. So no, nothing performance-wise. It's really just going to be the dry time.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of does Carbit recommend like a coating schedule, or is it just kind of play it by, I guess, eye? You see when your coating needs to be replaced, or is there a recommended replacement schedule of your booth coating?
So just based on what we've seen in the field, we usually try to sandwich every month and then peel every 3 months, or sandwich every 2 months, peel every 6 months. Somewhere in there is going to be kind of the average. But like I said, I mean, it is definitely going to depend on the user. If there's some booths that are 3 shifts and they're spraying nonstop in the booths, and those are going to be the booths that are usually going to be sandwiching more frequently, possibly every week, every 2 weeks. So it really depends on the user. That's probably the most asked question that we get. And it's kind of a hard response because, it kind of depends. We really like to get to know your operation, kind of like to know what you're doing. And then we can kind of come up with a schedule. We do have, stickers that we put on the booth, and we can put our recommendations on there. But it would all depend on, kind of whatever it is that you're looking to get out of the booth. If you're looking for it to be bright white and you're in there 3 shifts, you might want to sandwich more often than not.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then before we take off, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Carbit podcast, which what is it called?
For sure.
On the paint line.
On the paint line, absolutely. So we actually we just launched it last week. We have 4 episodes out, and that can be found on our website. It would be carbit.com/onthepaintline. And we have 4 episodes out, and basically we're looking for interesting stories. So anything that people in our industry, in the manufacturing industry, industrial industry, we're looking for stories that may have happened. Our first episode is about Terry Roach, which is one of the founders of Binks, and it's a pretty cool episode. It's a 2-parter, so that's episode 1 and 2. If you're not doing anything, definitely check it out. It's worth a listen.
Yeah, I checked that one out. It was a good listen, and it. I know I had spoke with you on this, but my family being a 3rd generation here at Air Equipment, we'd worked with Binks and the Roach family for a long time. My mom and my grandfather actually worked with Billy Roach when Binks was in Dallas. So
no kidding.
Yeah, and I think that's Terry's brother. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it is.
Yeah,
and
that's awesome. Small world.
Yeah. So, the coatings world is a small world, but when I saw that, we listened to it, and it kind of took my mom down memory lane. So that was kind of cool.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. And we're always looking for good stories. I mean, if anybody out there has a cool paint line story that people would find interesting, that's really all we're looking for. Just it seems like everybody's got their stories, and we're trying to create a platform for everybody to tell them. So that's kind of what we're trying to go for.
Okay, yeah, cool. So if you guys want to check out On the Paint Line podcast, just go to I found it on their YouTube channel, which is Carbit Paint Chicago, but then also you can find it on their website, which is just carbit.com.
Yep. Carbit.com/onthepaintline.
Okay. Well, you got anything else for us today, Matt? I think we ran through my questions already.
Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. Outside of, we're pretty excited for, so like I said, our floor coating is solvent based, and we're finding a whole lot more benefits from having a water-based coating than a solvent-based coating. So we're at the end stages of developing a water-based floor coating, which is actually going to be light gray, just to kind of mask the foot traffic and the dirt coming in and out of the booth. So that's kind of the next big project for the Carbit line is putting out our it's going to be 968. It's our water-based floor coating. So that's kind of on the horizon for Carbit.
Okay, yeah, maybe once that comes out, we'll do a follow-up episode on it or something.
For sure.
All right, well, Matt, I want to thank you for joining me. Listeners out there, if you guys want any information on Carbit booth coating or anything like that, feel free to reach out to AER Equipment at 210-223-3157. Or you can visit us online at air-equipment.com. Or you can also reach out to any of the ICAF companies. We're pretty much nationwide now. So you can visit us at icafcompanies.com. That's all we got for you this week. Matt, thanks again. And we will see you guys on the next episode of the AER Podcast.
All right, thank you, Jake.